Okay, what we're doing in this video is we are going to talk about something called the segment addition postulate. And this is one of the most kind of fundamental things about geometry. The big time we're learning some concepts. And so what we have is we have this statement right here. Given that B is between A and C. So whenever you see something like that, we're going to draw this picture. So it says B is between A and C. So here's A. And here's C. And B is somewhere in between them, and so it has to be on this line. And so I'm going to put B here. And so what I have is I have two small segments and then the whole thing. Essentially, the segment addition postulate says that this piece plus this piece equals the whole thing, which kind of makes sense. You break something up, and if you add it together, you get the whole thing. So the first small piece is AB, the second small piece is BC, and it equals the whole thing, which is AC. Okay? And so again, this first small piece is right here, right? And then the second small piece right here, and then the whole thing is this right here, and it equals the whole thing. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I would like you guys to try and see if you can draw number one. So we know we have some points. Oops, what happened there? So see if you can fill in those points, and then see if you can fill in this statement. What plus what equals what? Okay, so it said C is between A and B, so that means this time A and B is on the outside, and C is somewhere in between. And so the rule is the first small piece plus the second small piece equals the whole thing. And so this right here is the first small piece, so A to C, plus the second small piece right here, C to B, and then it equals this whole thing, which is A to B. And that's all segment addition is. It's just small plus small equals the whole thing, the big one. Okay? All right, let's try number two. When you do number two, start off by just doing this sentence first. Draw a picture for that, and then we'll figure out the next part. Okay, so when you did that, you should have put B and C on the outside and D somewhere in between. Now, when we look at this next statement here, I already have, oh, that purple's hard to see. It makes it make the font hard to read. So it says C is between A and D. I already have point D, and I already have point C, so I can't make those again. But C is supposed to be in the middle of those, or somewhere in between those. So where can I put A so that C is between D and A? Yeah, I can put A out here somewhere. Okay. And so now this time I don't have just two parts, I have three small parts. So it'll be BD plus DC plus CA equals the whole thing, and the whole thing is that distance from B to A. One thing I need to make sure that we're clear about, like on this problem over here, if you put B on the left and A on the right, it doesn't matter. The order doesn't matter, as long as you always had C in the middle. Same thing like if this one, if you wrote DB instead, that's the same thing. Remember, the order for segments doesn't matter. Okay, now let's look at somewhere we're going to start doing some math. So go ahead and see if you can draw this picture, and then I'll help you put the numbers on it. Okay, so you should have put B and C on the outside, A somewhere in between. Now, when I label this, what I'm going to do is I put the small numbers above, and whatever the big number is, I put it down below. And you can do a squiggly like this, or you could do a bracket like this. So it says A to B, this one's 12, and then it says A to C is 5. Now I do want to point out, you guys, that this 12 looks smaller than this 5, and that's okay. Pictures are there for a reference. They're not drawn to scale. It just helps us see what's going on. So we're looking for BC, so we don't know this, so I'm going to put that as X. Erase this thing. Okay. All right, so the rule is small plus small equals the whole thing, the big. And some of you might be able to do this without the equation, but I'm just giving you the equation because the problems are going to get a little harder. So 12 plus 5 is 17. So that's what x is, and that is also what BC is. So BC is 17. All right, same thing here. We start off by just drawing that picture. So I'd like you guys to draw the picture, and I'd like you to try and put those numbers on the picture. And then when you think you have it, go ahead and press play. Okay, so D and B, and you should have put C in between. Okay, so D to B is the whole thing, so that's 15.8, and C to B is the small part, 7.2. I'm looking for this. I don't know what that is, so I'm going to call it X. So small plus small equals big. And so to solve this equation, to get rid of a positive 7.2, I'm going to minus 7.2 on both sides. And so I get X is 8.6. And so that means that DC is 8.6. Another way you could have done this is you could have just looked and said something plus 7.2 is 15.8. And some of you would just say, oh, I just have to subtract. Well, that's what we did in the equation. We subtracted. But some people will like the equation, so I like to show the equation. All right, last two, we're going to get to some algebra. So let's, again, start by drawing the picture, given that C is between A and B. So that means A, B, put C in between somewhere. Now I'm going to put my numbers on my picture. AC is right here, so I put this above and in between, so X plus 5. BC is this right-hand side, X minus 3. And then it says the whole thing is 22. Now I do want to highlight this because this is what we're looking for. We're wanting to find AC. Right now, AC is just X plus 5. But that doesn't help me. I need to go ahead and solve for X. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do small plus small equals big. My first small segment is X plus 5, plus my second small segment, which is X minus 3, and it equals the whole thing. And now I just have to do my algebra. Remember, the first thing we do is we combine like terms. So a 1x and a 1x make a 2x. And then 5 and a negative 3, that makes a positive 2. Now to solve this, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this plus 2 on both sides by minusing 2. So I get 2x is 20. And then I'm going to divide by 2. So x is 10. Now this problem did not say solve for x. It said find AC. Well, AC right here is x plus 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this x and I'm going to plug it in for that x there. I plugged that in. Yeah, why did I do that? So my answer, AC, is 10 plus 5, which is 15. That's the final answer. So you have to be careful with geometry because a lot of times it's going to ask you to go plug in. So if it says find something, that means you're going to plug it in. Okay, let's insert some space real quick and then we'll do this last one. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to start off by seeing if you can draw this picture. Put your information on it and write an equation. When you think you have that, go ahead and press play. Okay, so this is what you should have gotten for your picture. Be careful. A lot of people think the number that's without an X has to be the big one, and that's not always the case. And so your B had to be in the center, and so this is how it should be drawn. Okay, so the rule is small plus small equals the whole thing. So that was the small piece right here, that's this, plus this small piece right here is this, and then equals the whole thing, which is this. Okay? And so now we're going to solve this. I'm going to put like terms together. There's nothing that go with that 3x, but this 12 can go with 2, so that makes 14. Now what I need to do is I need to move this x to the side. Remember, to move a positive x, I'm going to subtract x. And there's a little 1 there. So 3x minus 1x is 2x. Bring down the 14. And so now I'm going to minus 14. So I get 2x is 10. And then I'm going to divide by 2. So I get x is 5. So now I need to go back and look at the picture or the problem. And if you notice, it just says solve for x. I've done that. We're done. We do not have to plug it in because it just said solve for x. So when you're doing these problems, the first thing you always want to do is draw the picture. Once you get your picture and your numbers on your picture, then you can do small plus small equals big. Don't skip this step of a picture. That's where I see the most mistakes. It does not take that much time, and it kind of ensures that you get it right. So take the time, draw the picture, and then write your equation so that you can solve it.